Hi and welcome to this video. If you don't know who I am, my name is Liv and I am 21 years old. I am currently running my own business and traveling all around the world. In this video, I'm gonna be sharing with you how I overcome my loss streak and how you can do the exact same thing. This video is of course business related, so I'm gonna be sharing with you how I, with my marketing agency, have had 36 calls the last 1.5 months or so, and I didn't close a single sales call. As you might imagine, I have been struggling a lot with this and it has really started to get on my nerves. And of course, when running a business and a marketing agency, we need a lot of appointments, meaning meetings, so that we actually can close these meetings and get more clients in and therefore make money and make the business grow in general. Having over 30 calls and not being able to close a single one of them can become really frustrating. Bear in mind that I actually started in March this year, 2023, so I have had sales calls since then. However, it was only recently, actually in August, that I changed everything about my whole sales process. Because in the beginning of August, me and my partner bought a course by Charlie Morgan. I can totally recommend it. And in this course, we have learned so much about sales, about how to do the script correctly, how to go through questions and everything with the prospect in order to being able to close more deals. So in August, I changed a lot of things, basically made the process so much more simple, but so much more better at the same time. So I improved my script. So now I have a great script that I'm following every single time. I have a series of questions that I go through with all my prospects to make sure that they are actually a good fit for me and everything like that, and that I actually also can help them, which is really important. So I have learned a lot of different things, and since I started implementing all of these things, I of course needed to get used to all the things that I implemented and all the sales techniques and all of that. Since the middle of August, I have been improving a lot of things and trying out a lot of new stuff to basically improve my whole sales system and also my own personal sales skills. I'm going to be sharing with you in this video what I have learned and how I'm actually able to close deals now, because as you might know based on the title of this video and the thumbnail, I have had 36 calls without closing a single one of them, which is of course really frustrating when you are a business owner and you need to close deals in order to make money and make the business grow. How did I actually go from 0 to $5.6 thousand in just 7 days after having had 36 calls without closing a single one of them, and actually feeling a little burned out and a little frustrated about not being able to close any deals? So as you can see here on my screen, these two awesome screenshots of my tracking sheet where I basically keep track of all my sales calls and how it went. So as you can see, I had a really long lost streak, and this is actually not all of them because there are 36 as I mentioned, but eventually I came to a point where I actually closed 4 deals nearly in a row, and maybe the 5th one is to come just this upcoming week, so that's really exciting. At the 23rd of August, I started to track all of my calls. Since then, I've had around 44 calls. Some of them have been follow-up calls, but not a lot of them actually, only a few, so it's probably like 38 or something like that. And as you can see, I've had a ton of lost calls. I kept losing my calls. I wasn't able to close any of them. I felt I didn't really understand what I was doing wrong, and it was just so frustrating. But then eventually I got to a point where I closed 4 deals, as you can see right here, and that was amazing. So I just also want to tell you that if you find yourself in a position right now where you're not able to close as many deals and you feel like it feels maybe a bit like you're losing hope, but don't do that, because you have to keep going, just as I kept going, because eventually you're gonna close deals. And one of the really important things is also to stick to your script. Don't start to change a lot of different things just because it doesn't work for 15, 20, 25 calls. Stick to it for at least 30 calls before changing anything. And then when you have done 30 calls and maybe haven't been able to close any of them, go back, see if there is anything that pops up and looks like you've done something wrong or something that just repeats itself calls and calls over that you might have to change. As you can see here, let's go back to August and September. You can see that I had 28 calls in August and September. I closed none of them, which was really frustrating. And but I kept going. I kept recording every single call that I had. I listened back to some of them, see what I could do better. Then we get to October 2023. Here I have had 11 calls so far, and I'm already up on a closing rate of 36%, which is really amazing. And that's because at this one point I realized what I needed to change in order to actually close the calls. And from there, so from now, everything looks so much more light, and I have so much more hope that this is gonna be just fine. So I can promise you, if you stick to what you're doing and do not change 100 things at a time, you are gonna close deals. Don't give up because you've had 10 or 20 or 25 whatever calls so far and haven't been able to close any. You're gonna get there. You really are. I can promise you that. Basically, I went from having 36 calls to actually closing 4 deals nearly in a row, which was really exciting, of course, and I was actually able to do this in just under 7 days. But how did I do it? What did I change in order to actually quit my loss streak and actually start closing more deals? What was the 1 or 2 things that I did that changed everything for me? I'm gonna be sharing that with you in this video, and I'm really excited to share this with you. As you can see here on my screen too, this is of course in Danish crowns, so it says 40,000 Danish crowns, but that is equal to around 5.6 thousand American dollars. So as you can see, I went from 0 to 40,000 Danish crowns in just 7 days. And you can see that both on this picture right here and also this one down here. It's from my Stripe account. So I'm gonna be completely transparent with all of this. I'm gonna show you everything and how I did it. How did I actually do it? It's of course a really good question because there were a couple different variables for actually making me able to achieve this. So this was 4 new clients that I just signed this week, the last 7 days. So how did I do it? First of all, you of course need appointments or meetings to being able to close more deals, because when you get more appointments, you also get better at sales because you are actually able to train yourself because you're having sales calls frequently. That's of course one of the most important things, because if you don't have meetings, well, you're not going to be closing any deals. That was the first sort of problem that I solved. I have no problem anymore with booking enough appointments. I just need more volume so that I have more appointments every single week. Then what has also helped me so much, I can't even stress it enough, is the course I bought by Charlie Morgan. It has helped me more than I can even imagine. He has a course where he's sharing a ton of different valuable things on how to get more appointments in your marketing agency, but also covering everything regarding sales. And he is also doing live sales calls, so I can actually go into his course and jump on a call where I can get sales advice for free. Of course, I paid for the course. That is really helpful. So every single week I'm joining these calls where I can get advice and I can actually get my calls reviewed, so I can get instant feedback, which is really helpful. Then of course it's all about the sales in general. How do we get better at it? Of course it's all about training, but it's also about knowledge. It's all about confidence, your tone, your voice, everything like that. And I'm gonna get a lot more into this right now. As you can see on my screen, I have a little picture here of what's really important in terms of sales confidence. So sales confidence is really just the top of the iceberg, because underneath you can see there's things such as product knowledge, process knowledge, competitor knowledge, beliefs, experience, and customer knowledge. So of course the first one, product knowledge, is how much do you actually know about your own product and how good are you at communicating it to others in a simple way so people understand it. Let's say that you're running paid advertising like I am, like Facebook and Instagram advertising as an example. You don't need to go into the specific details because most business owners doesn't really care about that at all. They more care about getting more appointments and business in general. So being able to communicate product knowledge in a good way is really important. Then there's also process knowledge. So how much do you know about the process in general? Then there is competitor knowledge. What do you know about your competitors out there? How much do they charge? How do they do service delivery? How do they do sales calls and all of that stuff, right? But these 3 is not what have made the biggest change for me. These are more like the ground rules. That's of course really important. But then on the right side of the iceberg, you can see such as beliefs, experience, and customer knowledge. So the first one, customer knowledge, is really important. How much do you know about your target audience? So for me, I'm targeting small business owners in my niche, and I need to be really confident in my knowledge about this specific niche, because the more I know about the niche, the more I'm able to actually communicate my service in a way that will make it seem more interesting and more valuable to these people. So it's really, really important to know as much as you possibly can about your niche. Never stop to learn more, basically. Then experience, of course, the more sales calls you get, the better you get. That's, of course, how it works. But what has really moved the needle for me is beliefs. And also one other thing that I'm gonna be talking more about later on. Beliefs is so important because how you think about your product, how you think about yourself and your sales skills and everything regarding your own mindset really is what determines if you're actually gonna get success with your business in general. If you believe that sales is hard, if you believe that objection handling is hard, well, you're not really gonna close any deals, because what you believe is how you're gonna practice things and how you're gonna do things in general. So let's say that I believe objection handling is really hard, which I used to believe, then my behavior is gonna be based on this belief. So if I believe that objection handling is really hard, well, I'm more likely to not actually even be handling the objections. Let's say that I'm gonna get an objection like, oh, I need to think about it, or oh, sorry, it's too expensive for me right now. Then what I would used to do is just saying, oh yeah, sure, that's okay. I understand you need time to think about it. Shouldn't we just schedule a follow-up call sometime next week? Then we end up scheduling a follow-up call, but they either never show up or text me beforehand that it's too expensive and they're not interested anymore. This is such a huge problem, because if you believe that sales is hard or objection handling is hard or anything like that, really, you're gonna behave in a way that aligns with that, meaning you're not gonna be handling any objection, which is a huge problem, because the time that sales start is when you start handling objections. It's all about the objection handling phase, and we need to look at objections as a really good thing, because, well, if you're not getting any objections, you can't really move forward because you have nothing to handle and kind of stuck in the call. But when you get an objection, that actually means the prospect is actually interested in learning more about this and actually also learning more about how they can get started. So you have to see objections as an opportunity, really, and it's so amazing when you start looking at it in that way and not being afraid of handling objections, and instead just looking at it as a way of actually being able to close the deal. Be really aware of your beliefs in general. Then there is also your tone, voice, and confidence. As you can see, I wrote here on my screen. The tone, voice, and confidence is going to determine a lot of different things. This was actually the final thing that got me to being able to close 4 deals in just 1 week, because I was getting to a point where I was improving my sales skills day by day. So at the point where I was able to handle objections, I dared to do it and was not afraid to do it anymore, and I handled objections every single time they came my way in a good and confident way. And also when I started to realize that my tone and voice was really important, and I started to sound a lot more enthusiastic and confident when doing my pitch, that was where everything changed for me, and I was able to close 4 deals in just 7 days. Because what I realized was that these 36 calls that I did for the past 1.5 months or so, I didn't really believe in the service myself. I felt very non-confident, and I felt very unsure if I was actually, 1, able to deliver the service that I promised. 2, I was a bit unsure about my pricing. Was it a fair pricing? And did I actually believe that my service was value the price that I wanted to charge for it? So I actually ended up lowering my price a bit. So first I was charging around 1,500 per month as a retainer, no setup fee or anything, 1,500 as a retainer. I switched that to £1,000 setup fee and then pay per appointment, so commission. And that changed a lot for me, because I started to believe that, okay, it's actually worth this. And that also took a lot of risk away from my prospect side. So from that, I believed a lot more in myself and my service. Then I also started to review my own calls, and I cannot recommend you to do that enough. You have to review and listen back to all of your calls, especially the ones that you were able to close, of course. Because what I saw was that I sounded so unconfident, and I sounded like I just really didn't believe it. Also, one of the most important things I actually believe was that when I got an objection, sound like I need to think about it, or the price is too high, or something like that, I immediately just entered their frame. So if they said, well, the price is too high, I'm not sure that I can afford it at this point, unfortunately, is it alright if I just take a couple days to think about it and then get back to you? Then I would just be like, oh yeah, sure, I totally understand that. You can just get back to me whenever you have time, and I'm gonna send you an email right after this call with all the information you need, and yeah, let's see if we can schedule a call next week to catch up. That's basically what I would say, and as you might imagine, that's not gonna get me anywhere. If the prospect sounds like that, you're not gonna close the call unless you actually handle that objection. So now I don't take no for an answer. I know that I need to think about it, or it's too expensive, or I need to talk to my partner, and all of that stuff. It's most of the times just a smokescreen objection, meaning that's not really the real objection. So whenever they say I need to think about it, that's more likely to be a smokescreen for actually meaning that either they don't understand the full value, they don't see the full value of the service because you haven't been able to provide it full enough and actually communicating the value, or 2, they just don't believe in you. 3, they just basically haven't understood everything that you do in a good enough way, and you haven't been able to basically communicate it good enough to them. That's of course something that you have to improve on, but you can actually handle that. So if I just go ahead and say, well, that's okay, let's just schedule a follow-up call, instead of saying, well, okay, let me just clear things up. Is it really the case that you need to go ahead and think about it, or is it the case that you feel like you don't completely 100% understand the true value of this and what it exactly is that we do? When they say I need to think about it, ask them, okay, sure, I totally understand that and I totally respect that. Can I just ask you, before you go ahead and think about it, do you actually feel that this can get you to where you want to get to? X, Y, and Z, whatever. And if they say, yes, I do feel like it, well, then you can go ahead from there and handle it from there. If they say, I think it could, I'm not sure, if they sound a bit unsure, then that's exactly where you need to go in and handle the objection, because that means that you have not communicated well enough the true value of your service. So you have to dig deeper and find out what it is that they feel unsure about. Is it the price? Is it Facebook ads that you're providing? Is it blah, blah, blah? It can be so many things, and you need to dig deep in order to actually get to the bottom of why they need to think about it. And you need to do this with all sorts of objections. But yeah, all in all, what really moved the needle for me was, of course, a lot of training and just having enough sales calls again and again. Definitely also the course has helped me so much. And the 2 main things that ended up moving the needle 110% for me was my tone of voice and being able and daring to handle objections. That was the 2 primary things. So the first thing I realized was, okay, I need to be handling objections. I'm not gonna take no for an answer anymore. I'm gonna dare to dig deep into what their actual objection is and then handle it from there. I'm not just gonna schedule a follow-up call 1 week ahead and hoping for them to get back to me when I know that's not gonna happen. I'm actually gonna dig deep into the objection and handle it right there on the call, because that makes it 100 times more likely to actually close the call. Then the second thing, tone and voice and confidence, is everything. When I was doing my pitch before, I sounded so unconfident and unsure if I was actually being able to deliver the service. But now, when I do my pitch, I sound so confident, I sound so happy, like I sound so excited basically to tell them more about this, because I know that my service is just so great. Even though that I haven't been doing this for so long, well, you're gonna have to be a good actor and train yourself to be able to do that, because that's what's gonna move everything for you. So being able to actually sound really, really confident and so excited that you actually have the opportunity to help this prospect. Remember, you shouldn't be on this call to just have one focus, which is probably, I need to close this call. No, be on the call because you actually wanna help these people. You actually wanna help these people grow their businesses and get more appointments or whatever you're gonna help them with. And you need to actually care for your prospect. You actually have to listen to everything that they say. If they say something like, oh, I have actually tried a marketing agency before and it didn't really go well, that's your perfect opportunity to dig more into that and listen to them, find out what they feel unsure about, what their experiences in the past have been, what are their goals, and being able to find out where they are right now and where they want to get to. And then you have to be able to create the bridge that's going to get them to where they want to get to. And you have to believe in yourself, and you have to sound confident and really excited about your service, because that's going to make the prospect so much more able to actually believe in you and your service, and actually also so much more likely to buy from you. Because would you even buy from someone that sounded a bit unsure about themselves and their service? No, you wouldn't, because that's not nice. That doesn't feel very nice and trustworthy. Yeah, that was pretty much how I did it. It's really exciting, and I'm happy that I made this realization for myself that I need to start handling objections a lot more, and also just be more aware of my tone, my voice, and my confidence in general, because that's what's gonna move the needle so much for you. I can promise you, with enough appointments, with enough sales training, and if you implement those things that I've talked to you about today, you're gonna close deals. And also what you can do, you can practice your pitch in front of others or just in front of yourself, so you can get better and better at sounding more confident when doing your pitch, and also more enthusiastic and happy about it. So definitely do that. Also review your calls, listen back to them, and see what did you do good and what could be improved. And yeah, that's pretty much it for this video. I really hope that you found it interesting and helpful. If you have any questions about sales or business in general, or whatever you might like to know, please comment down below or send me a message. I would really appreciate that a lot, and answer all your questions. And yeah, thank you so much for watching. Have a wonderful day, and see you in the next video.